Shadows beyond the stars. The hum of the station's life support systems provided a comforting white noise as Commander Elena Reyes stared out the viewing portal. Through the reinforced glass, Sector 9 stretched before her, a vast expanse of seemingly empty space, punctuated by occasional wisps of violet nebula. To the untrained eye, it looked like any other sector of space, beautiful but unremarkable. But Elena knew better. "They're coming," she said, not turning as the doors hissed open behind her. Lieutenant Tamil Khan approached silently, his steps measured and precise as he joined her at the viewport. "The Galactic Assembly has issued their final warning. They're demanding we abandon Outpost 12 within 24 hours. Elena's reflection in the glass remained impassive, but her fingers tightened around the railing. "And if we refuse?" "They've assembled a coalition fleet, 30 vessels, including 3 Araxian dreadnoughts." "Impressive," Elena said, her voice dry. "They must be terrified." Tamil shifted uncomfortably. "Command is ordering a full evacuation. They don't want an interstellar incident. If we leave, there won't be any stars left for incidents, interstellar or otherwise." Elena finally turned from the viewport, her dark eyes reflecting the violet glow from Sector 9. "Tell the crew to prepare for visitors. I'll contact Earth myself." "Commander." "That's an order, Lieutenant." As Tamil reluctantly departed, Elena activated her neural link with the station's secure communications array. For a moment, she stood motionless as the connection established. Then her voice dropped to a whisper. "Outpost 12 to Earth Defense Command. We have a situation." 6 months earlier, the Galactic Assembly had been much less concerned with Sector 9. Elena remembered standing in the Grand Chamber, surrounded by representatives from 27 space-faring civilizations, all of them looking down at humanity's lone ambassador with thinly veiled contempt. The humans request that all vessels avoid transit through Sector 9, Ambassador Chen had announced, his voice steady despite the rustling of translator devices and the occasional derisive click from the delegation of armored Vesperi. "Our research indicates the region contains anomalies that could pose significant hazards to navigation." High Counselor Merrick of the Araxian hegemony had leaned forward, his scaled face rippling with amusement. "And what research would that be, Ambassador?" "Our scanners detect nothing unusual in that sector. It seems quite convenient that this dangerous region happens to provide the most direct route between our territories and the Corward systems." "The anomalies are intermittent," Chen had replied. "We've established Outpost 12 to monitor." "You've established a military outpost," Merrick interrupted, "in neutral space without Assembly approval. Some might consider that an act of aggression." A low murmur of agreement had swept through the chamber. "The outpost is scientific in nature," Chen insisted. "We're trying to understand what's happening in Sector 9 before someone else can claim it." Merrick's mandibles had clicked in what passed for laughter among his species. "Humanity has been part of this assembly for less than a decade. You're still learning to navigate interstellar space, yet you presume to lecture species that have traveled the stars for millennia." The chamber had erupted in laughter, some mocking, some merely amused at the audacity of these newcomers. Chen had remained silent until the chamber quieted. "We aren't claiming Sector 9. We're protecting it. The anomalies we've detected aren't natural phenomena. There's something alive in that sector, something ancient and powerful. We're simply suggesting caution." "Alive?" Merrick had scoffed. "Our scientists have analyzed that region extensively. There are no life readings, no energy signatures, nothing but ordinary space. If humans are frightened of shadows, perhaps you should remain in your own system until you've outgrown such primitive superstitions." More laughter, more dismissal. Chen had tried one final time. "The whisper zone doesn't register on conventional scans. It communicates through." "The whisper zone." Merrick had interrupted again. "You've even named your imaginary threat." This grows more absurd by the moment. The Assembly had voted overwhelmingly to reject humanity's request for travel restrictions. Only the Alani delegation had abstained, their luminescent eyes watching Chen with something that might have been concern. As the session ended, the Elani representative had approached Chen privately. "Your species is young," they had said, their voice a melodic whisper, "but perhaps you perceive what others cannot. We too have legends of places where space speaks. Be careful, human. Not all whispers are meant to be heard." Now, staring at the approaching coalition fleet on the sensor display, Alina wondered if the Elani had known more than they were willing to admit publicly. The discovery they'd made 3 weeks ago suggested that someone else had encountered the Whisper Zone long before humanity ventured into space. "Show me the artifact again," she ordered. The holographic display shifted, revealing a strange device recovered from deep within Sector 9. Roughly spherical, it was composed of an unknown alloy that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Its surface was covered in patterns that resembled neural pathways more than conventional circuitry. Dr. Youssef, the expedition's xenotechnologist, manipulated the hologram to highlight specific areas. "We've managed to activate portions of its systems, but its purpose remains unclear. The alloy contains organic components. It's partially alive, or was at some point. And you're certain it's not Elani technology?" Elena asked. "Positive. This predates any known civilization in the assembly by at least 1,000,000 years, possibly much more." Elena nodded slowly. "And the dreams?" Youssef hesitated. "They're intensifying. Last night, 17 crew members reported the same dream. A vast consciousness reaching out, trying to communicate. The linguistic team is working to decode the imagery, but it's unlike any form of communication we've encountered." "And the coalition fleet, have they been experiencing the dreams?" "Based on intercepted communications, yes, but they're interpreting them differently. Their scientists believe it's a weapon we've deployed, some kind of psychic attack." Elena laughed humorlessly. "Of course they do. They'd rather believe we're attacking them than admit we might be right about something they don't understand." The station's alert system suddenly blared, and Lieutenant Khan's voice came through the comms. "Commander, we're detecting unusual activity in the Whisper Zone. The nebula is changing." Elena moved quickly to the central command hub, where the main viewscreen displayed a real-time feed from Sector 9. The violet wisps of nebula were indeed changing, coalescing, darkening, taking on structure where before there had been only random patterns. "It's responding to the fleet's approach," Dr. Youssef said, his voice hushed. "It knows they're coming." "It's more than that," Elena said slowly. "Look at the pattern. It's not random." The nebula had formed a shape that resembled a vast neural network, pulsing with energy in a rhythm that seemed almost familiar, like a heartbeat or a breath. "The artifact," Elena said suddenly. "It's the same pattern. The artifact is a key, a fragment of whatever is out there." As if in response, the artifact in the laboratory 3 decks below began to emit a low hum that resonated throughout the station. On every screen, in every reflective surface, the same pattern appeared momentarily before fading. "It's communicating," Youssef whispered. "Not just through dreams now." Elena made her decision. "Prepare the shuttle. I need to go out there." "Commander, the Coalition fleet will be here in less than 12 hours. If you go into the Whisper Zone now, then I'll be exactly where I need to be when they arrive." Elena finished. "We've been monitoring this sector for years, trying to understand it from a distance. That's not working anymore. Something's waking up out there, and I need to know what it is before those trigger-happy idiots arrive and make a terrible mistake." As her team prepared the specialized shuttle, Elena recorded what might be her final log entry. "Commander's log. Outpost 12. The Whisper Zone is active. After years of subtle communications through dreams and impressions, it's responding to external stimuli in ways we never anticipated. I believe what we're witnessing is the awakening of a consciousness that exists between conventional space and something else. The artifact appears to be a form of interface, possibly created by whoever encountered this entity in the ancient past." The coalition fleet approaching our position has no understanding of what they're walking into. They believe we're using the sector as a strategic choke point or hiding some kind of weapon. Their fears have made them deaf to our warnings. I'm taking Shuttle Alpha into the heart of the Whisper Zone with the artifact. If I'm right, direct contact might establish clearer communication. If I'm wrong, well, I guess the Assembly will finally have their proof that humans are recklessly foolish. If anyone receives this log, tell Earth that everything we suspected about Sector 9 was correct. There is something alive out here, something vast and ancient, and unlike anything we've encountered before. And I think it's been waiting for us for a very long time. The shuttle detached from Outpost 12 with minimal fanfare. Alina piloted it herself, following the increasingly structured patterns forming in the nebula. The artifact sat in a specialized containment unit beside her, its surface now glowing with the same violet energy that permeated the sector. As she penetrated deeper into the Whisper Zone, conventional sensors began to fail. The shuttle systems flickered, and for a moment, Alina thought she saw shapes moving outside the viewports, impossible structures that hurt her eyes when she tried to focus on them. Then everything went dark. When visibility returned, Alina found herself in a space that defied description. The shuttle seemed to be floating in a vast neural network, pulses of energy flowing through structures that resembled axons and dendrites on a cosmic scale. The artifact beside her had changed. It was now a perfect sphere, its surface transparent, revealing intricate patterns within that matched the structures outside. Alina Reyes. The voice wasn't heard, it was felt, resonating through her body, through the shuttle, through reality itself. Yes, she said aloud, though she knew sound was meaningless here. I'm Alina Reyes. I represent humanity. We know humanity. We have watched. We have waited. The others do not hear us as you do. The other species, the Assembly. They come with weapons. They come with fear. They come to claim what cannot be claimed. They don't understand what's here, Alina explained. They think we're hiding something, using this sector strategically. You hide nothing. You protect us. You hear our whispers. What are you? Alina asked, the most fundamental question. Images flooded her mind. Stars being born, galaxies colliding, vast expanses of time condensed into moments of perception. Through it all, a presence, a consciousness, spread thin across the cosmos, but concentrated here, in this nexus point where conventional space met. Something else. We are the remnant. We are what exists between. We have slept for eons, until your kind came with minds open to our whispers. And now the coalition fleet is coming, Alina said. They won't listen to us. They'll try to claim this sector, perhaps try to weaponize whatever they find here. Yes, they approach. They bring destruction. They cannot be allowed to wake what has been carefully contained. The implications of those words sent a chill through Alina. Contained. What exactly is contained here? The response wasn't in words this time, but in a series of impressions, a vast and terrible knowledge. A power so ancient it predated the current universe, carefully bound and guarded by the entity that called itself the Remnant. You're a guardian, Alina realized. You're containing something dangerous, something that can't be allowed to escape. For millions of years, we have maintained the barrier. We are failing. We need help. We need humanity. Why us? Why not the older species, the ones with more advanced technology? You dream. You imagine. You hope. The others calculate. They measure. They fear. Your minds are open to possibilities they cannot conceive. You can hear us. You can help us. Beyond the shuttle, the neural network pulsed more rapidly, and Alina felt a sense of urgency building. They come. They will breach the barrier in their ignorance. You must stop them. You must make them understand. How? Alina asked. They won't listen to us. They think we're primitive, paranoid. Take what we offer. Return to your outpost. Show them what lies beyond the whispers. The artifact suddenly dissolved, its substance flowing into the shuttle systems, into Elena herself. Knowledge flooded her mind. Terrible, wonderful, overwhelming. As the remnant shared a fraction of its awareness with her. When she gasped back to consciousness, the shuttle was docking at Outpost 12, though she had no memory of the return journey. Lieutenant Khan was waiting, his expression grave. "Commander, the Coalition fleet has entered the outer perimeter of Sector 9. They're demanding our immediate surrender and withdrawal." Elena rose shakily to her feet, her eyes now containing flecks of violet light that matched the nebula visible through the viewport. "Open a channel to their flagship," she said, her voice carrying strange harmonics. "It's time they learned what it means to ignore humanity's warnings." As the Coalition fleet approached, the nebula began to pulse in a rhythm that matched Elena's heartbeat. The Whisper Zone was awake now, and it was ready to speak not in dreams, but in a voice that would echo across the stars. The final confrontation was about to begin, and humanity stood as the unlikely guardian of a power that could reshape the galaxy or destroy it completely. The voice between worlds. The Coalition fleet made an impressive sight as it entered Sector 9, ships arranged in perfect formation, a display of unity and power meant to intimidate. At the center, the Araxian flagship Unwavering Dominion dwarfed the other vessels, its hull bristling with weapons designed to reduce planetary defenses to slag. High Commander Merrick stood on the bridge, mandibles clicking with anticipation as the human outpost came into view on the main view screen. Compared to his flagship, Outpost 12 looked fragile and primitive, a hastily constructed station that wouldn't withstand even a fraction of his vessel's firepower. "Open a channel to the human facility," he ordered. "Let's give them one final opportunity to withdraw gracefully." The communications officer complied, and after a moment, Commander Elena Reyes appeared on screen. Merrick noticed immediately that something was different about the human. Her eyes contained strange violet flecks, and her posture conveyed an unnatural stillness. "This is High Commander Merrick of the Araxian Hegemony, leading the Galactic Assembly Enforcement Fleet. You have been ordered to abandon this illegal outpost. Comply immediately or face destruction." Elena's voice carried unusual harmonics when she replied. "This station remains under Earth authority by right of first exploration. We advised the Assembly about the dangers in this sector. You chose not to listen." "Dangers?" Merrick scoffed. "We've detected nothing but an unusual nebula formation. Your attempts to claim this strategic corridor through fabricated threats have failed. The Assembly has voted." "The Assembly has no authority here," Elena interrupted. "This is the domain of the Remnant. You are trespassing." Merrick's scales rippled with irritation. "More human mythology. There is no evidence of any sentient presence in this sector. Our scans cannot detect what exists between conventional space." Elena finished for him. "Withdraw your fleet, Commander. This is your only warning." Merrick slammed his armored fist against his command console. "You dare threaten a coalition force with 30 ships? Your station wouldn't survive the first volley from my flagship alone." Elena's expression remained impassive. "We're not threatening you. We're trying to save you." With that, the transmission ended. Merrick turned to his tactical officer, rage evident in his body language. "Target their communications array. Let's show these humans what happens when they defy the Assembly." As weapons systems powered up, a junior sensor officer suddenly called out, "Commander, I'm detecting energy fluctuations throughout the nebula. The patterns are changing." Merrick glanced at the view screen. The wispy violet clouds were indeed shifting, coalescing into more structured forms that pulsed with increasing intensity. "Some kind of human defense system?" he asked. "Unknown, sir, but—" The officer hesitated. "Sir, the patterns matched the dream sequences reported among the crew." Merrick had dismissed those reports as stress-induced hallucinations, the result of extended deep space deployment. Now, watching the nebula form structures that resembled neural pathways on a cosmic scale, he felt the first stirrings of doubt. "Full scan," he ordered. "I want to know exactly what." The words died in his throat as every system on the bridge suddenly displayed the same image, a vast, pulsing network that seemed to stare back at them with terrible awareness. Then, just as quickly, the systems returned to normal. "Sir," the communications officer said, voice trembling, "we're receiving distress calls from the outer vessels. Their crews are reporting hallucinations, systems malfunctioning." On the tactical display, 2 of the smaller ships had drifted out of formation, their movements erratic. "Signal the fleet to maintain position," Merrick ordered. "This is clearly some kind of human psychological warfare." "Sir, I don't think. The humans have had years to prepare this outpost," Merrick snapped. "They've developed some technology to affect our sensors, create illusions. It's clever, but it won't work. Target the outpost's central hub and fire when ready." As the weapons officer complied, another voice suddenly filled the bridge, not through the communication system, but seemingly from the air itself, resonating through the ship's hull. "You bring violence to our domain." Every crew member froze. The voice carried no identifiable source, yet it surrounded them completely. "You were warned. The humans warned you. You chose not to listen." Merrick fought to maintain his composure. "This is a trick, some human technology. We are not human. We are the remnant. We have existed since before your species crawled from the oceans of your world. We are the guardians of what must not be awakened." The view screen changed without command, showing them a different view of Sector 9, one where the fabric of space itself seemed thin, stretched over something vast and terrible that pulsed with hungry awareness beyond the barrier. "This is what we contain. This is what you risk releasing with your weapons, your conflicts, your ignorance." For the first time in his long military career, Merrick felt true fear, not the calculated assessment of risk, but primal terror that reached to the core of his being. "What do you want?" he managed to ask. "For you to leave. For you to listen. The humans hear us. They understand what is at stake. They have offered their help to strengthen the barrier." On the outpost, Alina Rice stood in the central command hub, her body suffused with violet energy as she channeled the remnant's communication. The knowledge transferred to her in the Whisper Zone had transformed her, not replacing her consciousness, but expanding it, connecting her mind to the vast neural network that was the remnant. "Lieutenant Khan," she said, her voice calm despite the energy coursing through her, "prepare to activate the interface." Khan looked at her with concern. "Commander, are you sure? We don't fully understand." "I understand," Alina said. "The remnant has shown me. This outpost wasn't built just to monitor Sector 9. It was designed to connect with what lives here, to help maintain the barrier." "Barrier against what?" Alina's eyes, now glowing with violet light, turned toward him. "Against what came before. Against what waits to return. The universe you know is young, Tamal. The previous iteration didn't end peacefully. Throughout the outpost, systems that had lain dormant since its construction suddenly activated. Panels opened in walls, revealing technology that appeared to be a hybrid of human design and something far more advanced. The central hub transformed as hidden mechanisms extended, forming a structure that matched the neural patterns visible in the nebula outside. "Our scientists suspected something when they first detected the whispers," Alina explained as the transformation continued. "They built this outpost with capabilities beyond what even our government knew, contingencies in case they were right about what existed here." "And they were right?" Khan asked. "More right than they could have imagined." Alina placed her hands on what had once been the command console, but was now a pulsing interface that matched the rhythm of her heartbeat. "The remnant is all that remains of a civilization that existed in the previous universe. They survived its death, and this universe's birth by existing partially outside conventional reality. For billions of years, they've maintained the barrier that keeps the old ones contained, entities that would consume this reality as they consumed the last. And now the barrier is weakening. The remnant is fading. They need new guardians. Energy flowed from the interface into Elena, through her, and back. They chose humanity because we can hear them, because our minds are still flexible enough to perceive possibilities other species have forgotten. In space, the Coalition fleet was in disarray. 3 ships had gone completely dark, their crews locked in waking nightmares as the remnant's presence overwhelmed minds unprepared for such contact. Others were attempting to retreat, engines straining as the fabric of space became increasingly unstable around them. Only the Araxian flagship remained in position, though even its mighty systems were beginning to fail as reality itself bent around Sector 9. On its bridge, Merrick watched with horror as the human outpost transformed. What had been a simple station was now alight with energy that matched the patterns in the nebula, creating a web of connections that seemed to stabilize the increasingly chaotic space around it. "What are they doing?" he demanded of no one in particular. The voice of the remnant answered, "They are becoming as we are. They are helping us maintain what must be maintained." A new face appeared on the view screen, Commander Rice, but changed. Her eyes shone with the same energy that permeated the sector, and when she spoke, her voice carried the resonance of the remnant while remaining her own. "Hi, Commander Merrick," she said, "you need to withdraw your fleet immediately. The boundary between realities is dangerously thin. Your weapons fire could rupture it completely." "What have you done to yourself?" Merrick asked, his usual arrogance replaced by genuine concern. "I've accepted the connection the remnant offered," Elena replied. "I understand now what we've been hearing in our dreams for years, what humanity's more perceptive minds have been sensing since we first looked at the stars. There are layers to reality, Commander. What exists in this sector isn't just a different form of life, it's a different form of existence entirely." "Why should I believe you? This could all be an elaborate human deception." "You felt it yourself," Elena interrupted. "In your dreams, the presence watching from beyond, the ancient awareness that turns its gaze upon you and finds you so terribly small. That's no deception, Commander. That's the truth your rational mind refuses to accept." As if to emphasize her point, the nebula pulsed again, and every crew member on the bridge momentarily perceived the truth. The vast, hungry entities straining against a barrier maintained by a fading consciousness that had once been a mighty civilization. "The remnant chose us," Elena continued. "They believe humanity has the potential to join them as guardians. This outpost is the first connection point, a place where we can learn to exist as they do, between conventional space and what lies beyond." Merrick's mandibles clicked rapidly as he processed this information. "And if we refuse to leave, then you risk everything," Elena said simply. "Not just your fleet, but all reality as you understand it. The old ones don't distinguish between species, Commander. They hunger for all existence." On the unwavering Dominion's bridge, warnings blared as systems continued to fail. The ship's AI reported structural integrity compromises throughout the vessel as space itself warped around them. "Commander," the tactical officer said urgently, "we need to withdraw. Whatever is happening, our ships cannot withstand it." Merrick hesitated only briefly before giving the order. "Signal the fleet. Full retreat to assembly space." He looked at Elena's transformed visage on the screen. "This isn't over, human. The assembly will not accept your claim to this sector." "This sector was never ours to claim," Elena replied. "We are simply the first to understand that it belongs to forces beyond any of our comprehensions. Return to the assembly, Commander. Tell them what you've seen. Tell them that humanity hasn't been claiming Sector 9. We've been protecting everyone from what lies within it." As the Coalition fleet retreated, Outpost 12 completed its transformation. The structure now pulsed in perfect harmony with the nebula, creating a stable point in an increasingly unstable region of space. Through her connection with the remnant, Elena could perceive the barrier strengthening as human consciousness joined with the ancient guardians. "What happens now?" Lieutenant Khan asked when the fleet had gone. Elena turned to him, the violet energy in her eyes dimmed but still present. Now we learn. The remnant has knowledge from billions of years of existence, across 2 universes. They've offered to share it with humanity, not as conquerors or rulers, but as partners in preservation. And the assembly. They'll be back, Alina acknowledged. But next time, they'll bring scientists instead of warships. What they experienced today has shaken their certainty. They glimpsed something their rational minds can't explain, something that validates what humanity has been trying to tell them. That we're not alone in the universe, Khan suggested. Alina smiled. That we're not alone in reality. The universe as we understand it is just one layer. The remnant exists in the spaces between, and the old ones exist in the spaces beyond. Humanity has always sensed this in our myths, our dreams, our most primal fears of what lurks in darkness. She gazed out at the now stabilized nebula, its neural patterns pulsing with a steady rhythm that matched her own heartbeat. We warned them, and they laughed. But Sector 9 has spoken for itself now. The whispers have become a voice that cannot be ignored. 3 months later, Alina Reyes stood in the grand chamber of the Galactic Assembly. The chamber was silent. No whispers, no rustling of translator devices, no dismissive clicks or gestures. Every representative watched her with a mixture of fear, respect, and lingering skepticism. She was changed from when Ambassador Chen had stood in this same spot. Violet energy still flickered occasionally in her eyes, and sensors throughout the chamber detected unusual energy patterns emanating from her body, patterns that matched those now constantly monitored in Sector 9. The human outpost will remain, High Counselor Merrick announced, his voice subdued. A scientific delegation from the Assembly will be permitted to visit. When Alina spoke, her voice carried subtle harmonics that made several representatives shift uncomfortably in their seats. The remnant welcomes scientific exchange. They've existed for billions of years, preserving knowledge across the death of one universe and the birth of another. What they offer could advance all our civilizations beyond imagination. And in return, asked a representative from the Solani Collective, what do these remnants want from us? Understanding, Alina replied simply. And eventually, help. They've maintained the barrier alone for eons. As they fade, new guardians must take their place. Humanity has proven compatible with their consciousness. Our minds can perceive the spaces between conventional reality. Other species may discover similar compatibility through careful study and preparation. And if we refuse this burden, Merrick asked, if we decide that maintaining mysterious barriers against ancient horrors is not our responsibility. Alina's gaze locked with his. Then you'd better hope humanity is strong enough to do it alone. Because if the barrier fails, if what waits beyond breaks through, there won't be a galaxy left to govern. The silence that followed was profound. As the session concluded, the Elani representative approached Alina privately, much as they had approached Ambassador Chen months earlier. Your transformation is remarkable, they said, their luminescent eyes studying her with open curiosity. Our legends speak of those who walked between worlds, beings who could exist in multiple layers of reality simultaneously. We believe them to be myths. Many myths have cores of truth, Alina replied. Your people sensed the remnant, didn't they? That's why you abstained from the vote against us. The Alani's skin rippled in what might have been the equivalent of a smile. We have always heard something in the quiet places between stars. Not clearly, not like you humans seem to, but enough to instill caution. The remnant believes other species might develop the ability to perceive them more clearly, with time and preparation, Alina said. Humanity's connection was unexpected. Something about our neural patterns, our imagination, our ability to conceive of the impossible, made us particularly receptive. A fortunate coincidence for all of us, the Elani observed. Alina smiled. The remnant doesn't believe in coincidences. They've been watching humanity since our first dreams. They believe they may have influenced our evolution, subtly, over millennia, preparing us for this moment when they would need new guardians. A disturbing thought, the Elani said, to be shaped for a purpose without your knowledge. Perhaps, Elena conceded, but better than the alternative. A universe consumed by horrors we can barely comprehend. As she departed the assembly chamber, Elena felt the constant presence of the remnant at the back of her mind. Not controlling, not invasive, but supportive, like a hand steadying someone learning to walk a new path. The coalition fleet had learned what it meant to ignore humanity's warnings. The assembly had been forced to acknowledge that there were forces in the universe, and beyond it, that their advanced civilizations had never detected. And humanity had found its unique place among the stars, not as conquerors, not as latecomers to a galactic community that viewed them with condescension, but as bridges between realities, as guardians of barriers that protected existence itself. They had laughed at humanity's warnings about Sector 9. They weren't laughing anymore, not since the day the whispers had become a voice that echoed across the stars, a voice that spoke through human minds to deliver a message the galaxy couldn't afford to ignore. Some boundaries were never meant to be crossed. Some secrets were better left undisturbed, and sometimes the species that seems the most primitive might be the only one capable of perceiving the most profound truths. At Outpost 12, now expanded into a full research and monitoring station, humans worked alongside the first cautious assembly scientists, learning to hear the whispers, to strengthen the barrier, to understand what it meant to exist in the spaces between conventional reality. The old ones still pressed against the thinning barriers, hungry for the light and life of a universe they had been denied. But now they faced not just the fading remnant, but humanity as well. A young species with ancient connections, whose minds could bridge realities, and whose determination had already withstood the dismissal and derision of an entire galactic community. The whispers from Sector 9 continued, but they were no longer just warnings. They were teaching, guiding, preparing humanity for its role as the new guardians of reality itself. The Council had mocked them, but in the end, it was humanity who laughed last, standing as the unexpected protectors of those who had once looked